Let's have three entities. The first entity name is employee. The employee has attributes ID, name, height, weight, age. Salary. Let's consider like these are the attributes inside the employee. Let's consider like I have a student. Even a student has employee number. Okay, EMP number means employee number. Okay. Now, even a student has ID, name, height, weight, age. Okay. Then we will tell what is which university is studying. Okay. And which branch is studying. Okay. What is the student? What is his aggregate percentage? Okay. Now we have a labor. Even labor has ID, name, height, weight, age, occupation, and wage per. Okay. Now we have three entities like this. One is employee, and one is student, and one is labor. Now these three are different entities. Okay. One is used to represent the employee related details. One is used to represent the student related details, and third is used to represent the labor related details. Now, if these three are different entities, do we have any members in common for these three entities? Do we have any members in common? Yes. What are the members in common? ID is common, name is common, height is common, weight is common, age is common. Now, can we tell that we are writing some boilerplate code here? Can we tell that we are writing some boilerplate code here? Can we tell we are writing some boilerplate code here? Definitely yes, just because there is a we are repeating these members. We are repeating these members. So definitely here we are writing some boilerplate code. Rather than repeating these members, okay? Why can't we keep these members in one entity and reuse the entity? Okay? Then this approach is not at all advisable. Okay? The approach that we take is we keep some other entity. Okay? And we put ID, name, height, weight, age. All these members will be kept in the entity, and the members specific to this employee: salary, office address, and employee number will be there in the employee entity, and remember members that are specific to the students, like university, branch, and percentage, will be there in the student class, this student, and this employee, and labor. We have specific work location, okay. See, all the common members, what I have done means just I have kept all the common members in a separate. Okay. Rather than repeating the common members in all the entities, what I have done is I have kept the common members in a separate class, a separate entity. Okay. Now let's call this common entity as person. Okay. Now the person class has ID, name, height, weight, and age. Now, do we have a boilerplate code in these three entities? No. Okay. All the common properties. Okay. All the common attributes and common methods are handled in the person. Okay. This person class contains the generic members. I told already. Okay. In general, in software applications, we won't use the word common. We use the word generic. Now, the person is having the generic members. Okay. Now, if the person is having the generic members means the generic attributes or generic method. The person is having generic members. Okay. So, this person is called as a generalized entity. Person is called as generalized entity just because the person contains some generic information of multiple entities. Okay? Person contains some generic information for multiple entities. So, person is called as a generalized entity. Okay? Now, does this student class have any generic information? Does this student class have any generic information? No. Okay. The student class has the information which is specific to student. This information or the members present in the student class are specific to student. So since these members are specific to student, the student entity is a specialized entity. Specialized entity. Okay. Person is called as a generalized entity and student is called as a specialized entity. Just because the student has members specific to student and person has members generic to multiple persons. The person has some members generic to multiple persons, but student has some members which are specific to students. Since person has some generic information, person is said to be a generalized entity. Since student has some specific information, okay, student is said to be a specialized entity. And employee is also a specialized entity, and even labor is also a specialized entity. So now the generic information is there in the generalized entity, and the specific information is there in the specialized entity. Now, how we can connect them? How we can connect the generalized entity? So, just because a student has only university banking percentage, he is not a complete student. Okay, just with university banking percentage, we cannot know the information of the student. He should have some ID, some name, some weight, height, age. All these properties should be there even for a student. All these properties should be there even for an employee. All these properties should be there even for a labor. Then how I can reuse these members inside student, employee and labor? Means, okay, I can inherit them. I can inherit them from person into student, person to employee, and person to labor. Okay. Now, how I can define inheritance? Now you know why inheritance is used. All of you know why inheritance is used. Reusability of generalized members. Okay. We use inheritance to reuse the generalized members, or to reuse the generic members. We use inheritance to reuse the generic members. To reuse the generic members. Rather than putting the generic members in all the classes, what we do is all the generic members will be kept in a separate class, and we inherit the generalized entity to specialized entities. Okay? Now, how we can define inheritance is, okay, getting a specialized entity from a generalized entity is nothing but inheritance. Inheritance can be defined as getting a specialized entity from a generalized entity. Is inheritance. The entity can be anything. What are the possible entities in Java? Class, interface, enum. No? The entity means it can be anything. Okay? Inheritance is not specific to classes. That's why while defining inheritance, I have told it as entity, not a class. Okay? Entity is a generic thing. Okay? Entity can be applied to class or interface or even enum. So, I told it as entity just because inheritance can be applied for classes, for interfaces and even for enums. So, I told it as an entity, not a class. Right now, we have not discussed about interfaces and enums, but once we discuss interfaces and enums, you can come to know how all those entities will be working. But right now, we will be discussing inheritance with respect to classes only. Okay? Now, how we can implement this inheritance in Java? Okay? How we can achieve this inheritance in Java? See, we have told that applying a generalized entity, applying a specialized entity from generalized entity is nothing but inheritance. Okay? But how we can connect the generalized entity and specialized entity? See, this can be achieved in C++, even .NET, even in PHP, and even in Java also. So, if it is applied even in Java, then how we can establish a relation between a generalized entity and a specialized entity? See, the way that we achieve inheritance is different in different programming languages. And what we need to learn is how we can achieve this inheritance in Java. Okay, how we can achieve this inheritance in Java. Okay, how we can achieve inheritance in Java means, okay, we use some keywords to achieve inheritance in Java. Those keywords are extends, and implements. These two are the keywords that we use to achieve inheritance in Java. These are the two keywords that we use to achieve inheritance in Java: extends and implements. We use extends to achieve inheritance between two similar entities. We use the keyword extends to achieve the inheritance between two similar entities. Similar entities means between a class and a class, between an interface and interface, or between an enum and enum. Let's consider like we have two classes. Between two classes, if you want to put some inheritance means I should use the keyword extends. Between two interfaces also the same, extends. Like that, if you want to achieve inheritance between two similar entities, then we go for extends. Let's consider a class and a class, interface and an interface, enum and enum. Okay? In that case, we use extends. Okay? Now, if you want to achieve inheritance between two dissimilar entities, if you want to achieve inheritance between two dissimilar entities, then we use the keyword implements. Let's consider like there is an interface and there is a class. Let's consider like we have shape, which is an interface, and rectangle, which is a class. Shape, which is an interface, and rectangle is a class. Now, can we tell all rectangles are shapes? All rectangles are shapes? Yes. So, rectangle is a specialized entity and shape is a generalized entity. Let's consider like shape is a interface. We don't know what is interface, but just think that interface is also an entity. And let's consider like shape is interface. How we can achieve inheritance is shape implements, rectangle implements shape. Okay? Right side to implements it should be the generalized entity, and left side to implements it should be the specialized entity. Okay, this is how we can achieve inheritance. Rectangle implements shape. And in the same way, let's consider like we have two entities, person, which is a class, and employee, which is also a class. Let's consider like both person and employee are classes. Then how we can achieve inheritance means person extends to employee. And both extends and implements, these are keywords. Okay? If both are classes, then we use extends. Yes. See, just I have assumed that person is a class and employee is a class. If both are classes, then we use extends. Just because both are similar, both are classes. And in the first case, I have used rectangle is a class and shape is an interface. Since both are dissimilar entities, I have used implements. If both are similar entities, we use extends. Between a class and a class, between an interface and interface, we use extends. But between two dissimilar entities, like if one is a class and one is an interface, then we use implements. We will be discussing about all these things once we have discussed interfaces, but right now we have the knowledge of only classes. So first we discuss how we can achieve inheritance between two classes, and then we'll switch over to the next things. Now let's see how we can achieve inheritance between two classes with a simple example. Let me write a class inheritance demo. Okay, and let me write a main method. And let me write a class person which has two simple attributes. Right now, as we are discussing about inheritance, to discuss all the features of inheritance, right now we are not implementing any encapsulation. But this kind of entities, person, employee, these kind of entities should be encapsulated. But right now we need to discuss about inheritance and we need to discuss all the features of inheritance. For time being, I am not using any encapsulation. So I am making ID which is of type int, name which is of type string. Okay, now I have two members in this class, ID which is of type int, name which is of type, let's consider like we have another member test. We have three members in the class, ID, name and a method test. And let's consider like we have class employee and which has salary, which has salary. Okay, these are two basic entities. Now how I can connect the person and employee means through inheritance, and how I can achieve this inheritance in Java means between two similar entities we use extends. Between two similar entities we use extends. Between two similar entities we use extends keyword to establish the inheritance relation. And the relation that is established between two entities because of inheritance. The relation that is established between two entities because of inheritance is called as a relationship. Okay, the relationship that is established between two entities because of inheritance is called as is a relationship. The relationship that is established between two entities because of inheritance is called as is a relationship. It is called as is a relationship just because we call employee is a person. Employee is a person. Okay? And rectangle is a shape. That's what we do. Okay? That's why the relation is called as a is a relation. Okay? The meaning behind is a is, okay, just we call the specialized entity is a generalized entity. Means employee is a person, rectangle is a shape. That's what we call. Can we call person is an employee? No, we cannot call person is an employee just because we cannot decide that each and every person is an employee. But can we tell each and every employee is a person? Yes, that's what we do. The left side to is a, it will be specialized entity. On the right side to is a, it is a generalized entity. Okay? Let's consider like employee is a person, like that. Okay, like that we can achieve this ECA relationship. Okay, now the employee extends to person. Now what are the members present in the person class? ID, name, test. After compilation, what are the members present in the person class? ID, name, test method, and see what are the members present in the person class after compilation? ID, name, test, and even a default constructor also. See, even the default constructor also will be a member of the person class. So, after compilation, we have 4 members in the person class. One is ID, name which are attributes, test which is a method, and a default constructor which is created by the compiler. Okay? So, now what are the members that will be inherited from the generalized entity to the specialized entity? Okay? Or what are the members that are inherited means attributes and methods will be inherited from the generalized entity to the specialized entity. Only attributes and methods will be inherited to the from the generalized entity to the specialized entity. Only attributes and methods will be inherited from the generalized entity to the specialized entity. Only attributes and methods will be inherited from the generalized entity to the specialized entity. Constructors and initialization blocks will not be inherited. Constructors and initialization blocks will not be inherited. Only attributes and methods will be inherited to the specialized entities. Okay? Now, private members will not be inherited from a generalized entity to specialized entities. Private members will not be inherited from generalized entities to specialized entities. Only non-private members will be inherited. Only non-private members will be inherited. Only non-private members will be inherited. That's why we did not make these classes encapsulated. To discuss about all the stuff, we did not make these classes encapsulated. Now, let me try to create an object to employee. Now let us see, can we access Let me consider like I'm giving system dot this I'm putting employee dot ID. Now, do we have ID attribute inside employee? Do we have ID attribute inside employee? Right now we don't have ID attribute inside employee, but after compilation, the ID, name and test will be inherited to the employee. Okay? Before compilation, we don't have ID and name inside the employee. Only one member is there inside employee, which is salary. But after compilation, we have ID, name and test, which will be inherited from person to employee. So, ID, name and even the method test will be inherited. ID, name and method test will be inherited from generalized entity to the specialized entity. In general, just while representing these entities in general, if there are classes, then we call them as superclass and subclass. We call in general, in most of the cases, even in discussions also, we call the generalized entity as superclass and specialized entity as subclass. But technically we should call them generalized entity and specialized entity. But in general, informal communications, we call them as superclass, subclass. Generalized entity will be called as superclass, and specialized entity will be called as subclass. But most of the people, while defining the inheritance also, they are getting a subclass from superclass. But it's not correct. Just because inheritance is not specific to classes. Inheritance may be applied even for interfaces and even for enums. And class, interface, enums, as a combination, they will be called as entities. So, while defining, we should define as clear. But while explaining, we can explain them as superclass and subclass. Okay? So, now, let us see by compiling and executing this. Let us see, can we access the members of superclass and subclass using the subclass references? Press compile. Let me go to the classes. So the values are being accessed, 0, null and test methods. Okay, so I could able to access the ID of the superclass, the name of the superclass, and even the test method of the superclass. So the ID, name and test, ID, name and attributes, test is a method. That means the attributes and methods will be inherited from superclasses to subclasses. Okay, the attributes and methods will be inherited from superclasses to subclasses. Now Let me make ID as private. Let me make ID as private. So, and let me try to compile this. 1 second. What is he telling? ID has private access in person, so it should be used only inside person. Let's consider that I am not using ID inside person. I am using inside inheritance demo. I am using the value of ID here itself in the employee itself. Now I am using the ID inside I am using the ID inside person. Okay. Now will it be compiled? Now will it be compiled? Yes. Just because I have used only within the boundaries of the person. So if you use ID within the boundaries of the person, then it will be compiled. But let me consider that I have the test method here. Now will it be compiled? Will it be compiled? No, just because private members will not be inherited. See, test method is a method which is there in the employee class, and I am using ID which is private inside person inside the employee. But this ID will not be inherited to the employee. The ID will not be inherited to the employee just because ID is private. Let me compile this. This will give a compile time error. Okay, but let me make it non-private. If I make it non-private, can I access ID inside test? Can I access ID inside test? Yes, just because ID will be inherited from person to employee. Okay, and after compilation, even in employee class we have ID. Okay, after compilation, even in employee class we have ID, so we can directly use ID. Okay, so after compilation, what will happen is even in employee also we will be having ID. So we can use the attribute ID directly. Okay, thus the inheritance will be. Private members will never be inherited to the subclasses. It's compiled. Just because this member ID and name will be inherited to the subclass. Okay, the member's ID and name will be inherited to subclass, and this will be compiled just because the subclass can access the superclass members. Okay, just because they will be inherited to the subclass. Okay, the subclass can get the superclass members if and only if they are non-private. If they are private members, they will not be inherited. Okay. The private members will not be inherited. If they are non-private attributes or non-private methods, definitely they will be inherited to the subclass. Some of the interviewers will be asking like, I have ID and name. I have ID and name. Okay. Now, I have two attributes ID and name. I don't want to inherit a name. I want to inherit only ID. I don't want to inherit name, but I want to inherit only ID. Do I have any possibility? Making name as private is one possibility, but I don't want to make it private. See, what the possibility you told is correct. If I make name as private, then name will not be inherited to employee. But I don't want name to be private. I don't want name to be private, but I want to restrict name from inheritance. That thing is not possible. Okay, we cannot filter the members from being inherited. Definitely, all non-private members, non-private attributes and non-private methods will be inherited to the subclasses. All non-private attributes and non-private methods will be inherited to the subclasses. We cannot restrict them from inheritance. Definitely, they will be inherited. We cannot restrict them from inheritance. when I was interviewing some members, okay, I have asked this question to almost 10 persons, and they have come for 3 years as experience. They have come to the interview telling that they have 3 years as experience, but I have asked this same question: how I can filter? Okay, I don't want to inherit. I have 10 members in a class, and I don't want to inherit 5 members. I want to inherit only 5 members. How I can filter them? They used to tell some explanation. They used to think about that. But without a second thought, we should tell that if it is non-private, definitely it will be inherited. Okay, I expected that answer, but among us them, only one told the answer, and I have selected only that person. Okay, so that's how it happens. So just apply your common sense. Okay, just what we have told is all non-private members will be inherited. At any case, all the non-private attributes and non-private methods will be inherited. We cannot filter them. We cannot filter the attributes or methods from inheritance. We cannot restrict them from inheritance. Okay? Now, let me move this test method again back to person. Let's have now. Now, the next question is whether the static members will be inherited to the subclasses or not. Whether the static members will be inherited to the subclasses or not. The static members will be inherited to the subclasses. The static keyword will not restrict from inheritance. Only private members will not be inherited. Rest of the members will be inherited, and even static members will be inherited to the subclasses. Even static members will be inherited to the subclasses. Okay, let me make the method as static. So, just to tell that even the static methods will be inherited to the subclasses. This I have made it set. So, just the static attributes as well as static methods will be inherited to the subclasses. Static attributes as well as static methods will be inherited to the subclasses. Okay. Now I am calling employee.test. I'm not calling, the test method is there in the person, but what I'm doing is I'm calling employee dot test. Will it be compiled? Understood what I have done? The test method is there in the person class, but what I'm doing is I'm calling employee dot test. Will it be compiled? Was it compiled? Yes. Why it was compiled means? Just because the test method will be inherited from the person class to the employee class, and after compilation, the test method will become even a member of employee class also. So the employee class static member can be accessed through the class name employee. Okay. So even static members will be inherited the corresponding subclasses. Okay. There is no restriction. Let me make a class another person. Employee class extends to person and another. Let's have another has the attribute named k. Now, the same class is extending with multiple classes. The same class is extending with multiple classes. Okay, but this is impossible in Java. Okay, multiple inheritance between classes is impossible in Java. Why it is impossible? What is the reason to make it impossible? We'll discuss after discussing some concepts. Okay, after discussing some concepts, we'll discuss why it is impossible. Right now, even if I discuss that, you cannot understand that. So, at one point of time, we'll discuss why multiple inheritance is not possible in Java, or why multiple inheritance is not supported in Java. Okay, but right now make it a note that multiple inheritance is not supported in Java between classes. Multiple inheritance is not supported in Java between classes. Multiple inheritance is not supported in Java between classes. And definitely this will give you a comparison error just because employee is trying to extend two classes. One is person and one is another, which is a comparison error. At maximum, a class can extend with only one class. Okay? At maximum, a class can extend with only one class. Just it is giving something like this. It will be a compiler error. Okay? At maximum, a class can extend with only one class. Multiple inheritance in Java is not supported between classes. Okay? That's what one point is, and we can extend the same class with multiple classes. Let's consider like we have a class student which has branch university percentage, branch university and percentage. Now just selection student with person. Now student is a person and employee is a person. Now do we have any relationship between student and employee? Do we have any relationship between student and employee? No. Even they appear to be siblings, but siblings relation will not be there in programming languages. Okay? See, if myself and my sister, for myself and my sister, okay, it's the same parents. Okay? Then in general, in common relationships, we have a relationship. Myself and my sister have a brother and sister relationship, a siblings relationship. But in programming languages, the relationship will be only in parent and child, but the sibling relation will not be there. Okay, the programming languages doesn't define any sibling relation, entity and its parent. That's it. The sibling relationship will not be there inside the programming languages. Okay. So some people think like employee is extends to person, student extends to person. So the employee and student share a sister relationship. Okay, a sibling relationship, but it's not that. A sibling relationship will not be there in any programming language. Okay, only a parent and child relationship will be there. Now, person is the parent, student is the child. Now, even using the student object, we can access Even using the student object, we can access ID, name, student.id, student.name, and student.count. And we can access even student.test. Okay, like this, we can access the inherited members from any subclass. We can access the inherited members from any subclass. Just I'm inheriting employee with person and student with person. And I'm trying to access the members of employee from student as well as I'm trying to access the members of person from employee and student. So first I have created an employee object, and using the employee object as a reference, I am using ID, name and count. Okay, and using even student object as a reference, I am using ID, name and count, and I am using student dot test. Since test is a static method, we can use the class name. Okay, like that it will be, and if I execute this, it will be executed perfectly. Okay, 0 null 0, 0 null 0, test. Okay, and the members can be accessed from any subclass. And the superclass references can refer to subclass objects. The reference variables of superclasses can refer to subclass objects. The reference variables of superclasses can refer to subclasses. The reference variables of superclasses can refer to subclasses. objects. Reference variables or superclasses can refer subclass objects. Now, person EMP equal to new employee. What am I accessing? ID, name, count, and I am calling the test method. Okay. So this will be compiled as well as executed successfully. The superclass references can refer to subclass objects, but the reverse is not possible. Subclass references cannot refer to superclass objects. Subclass reference variables cannot refer superclass objects. Subclass reference variables cannot refer superclass objects. But superclass reference variables can refer subclass objects. Question? Now, superclass reference variable can refer to subclass objects. Okay? Now, let me try to compile this and execute this. Just compile. Let me go to the classes. This is perfectly executed. Superclass reference variables can refer to the subclass objects. Now, the employee has a member salary. Now, let me print even the value of salary. What's the default value of salary? 0.0. Now, what's the output? 0, null, 0, 0.0. Okay? We did not assign any values, so it might get some default values.
Sir, can two classes extend each other?
Huh?
Can two classes extend each other, like employee extend person, and person also extend employee?
It can be possible, but it will be cyclic at the runtime. Okay? But if you do that, it will be cyclic at the runtime and it will be overflowed. It can be possible, but it will be cyclic at the runtime. Okay? It will be overflown. The memory will be overflown. Why you got this idea?
Because two classes may be like equivalent.
It can be possible at the compilation time. Okay? And now I'm trying to access ID, name, count, and salary. Okay? Now what are the values printed? The ID value is 0. What's the name value? Count? Salary? 0.0. First, let me try to compile this. What is telling? What's the compile time error? What it is telling? It cannot able to find the symbol variable salary inside which class? Person class. Now, why it is giving a compile time error means, okay? Now, at the time of compilation, as I told earlier, at the time of compilation, the compiler will never check what is the value in that variable. The compiler for reference variables, it will check only the data type. Did I tell this earlier? Did I tell this earlier? For reference variable, the compiler will never check what is the value in that variable. For reference variables, the compiler will check only the data type of the reference variable. Now, if the compiler will check only the data type of the reference variable, now the compiler will check what is employee. Employee is a variable of type person. Now, inside person, do I have ID? Is there any ID inside person? Yes. Is there any name inside person? Is there any count inside person? Is there any salary inside person? No. For that reason, it is giving a compile time error. The reference variables of superclasses can refer to subclass objects, definitely. But superclass reference variables should not be used to access the subclass members. The superclass reference variables should not be used to access the subclass members. Superclass reference variables should not be used to access the subclass members. If we try to do so, it will be a compile time error. Just because logically the compiler will check only the data type of a reference variable, not the value in the reference variable. The compiler will check only the data type of the reference variable, not the value in the reference variable. The compiler will check employee EMP is of type person, and it will check for all attributes and methods inside person only. If the attributes or methods are not there in the person, then it will give a compile time error. See, I'm creating the employee object, okay, and I'm using only the person related information. What is the use of employee means? Let's consider that I'm creating an employee object, but at this point of time I'm using only the person related information. See, it doesn't mean that I cannot reuse the object at other places, no? I may use the employee related information at other places. Let's consider like I have created the employee object, I have created the object to employee class at the first line, right? And in the second line I am using only the person related information. Okay? Now at the 100th line I may use the employee related information. So it doesn't mean that we are not at all using the employee related information. We are using the employee related information, but not at this point of time. Okay?
And what's the meaning of using that single cell? Because you can separate them, look at use. Why they are using superclass object for every subclass object?
See, it's not that it is mandatory to use the superclass reference to subclass objects. What I am telling is, we can refer.
We can't access any extra subclass methods or any variables.
Okay.
But we are create some rules. We can refer objects of superclass to subclass. But what's used?
See, let's consider like we have multiple subclass objects. Employee. Let's consider like this test will process something. This test has some logic. Let's consider that this test has some logic. Okay? Now I am creating the object to employee. Okay? Now if the test has some logic, Let's consider like do we need to change the reference now? Do we need to change the reference now? To access the superclass members for different subclass objects, do we need to change the reference? No. If you use different references for different subclass objects, what we need to do? If something is changed means we need to change right from the root. We need to change at multiple places. So, to access the superclass members that are inherited to subclasses, what we do is, in general, we use superclass references only. See, if we use subclass references, what happens is, let's consider today is his employee. If I want to change it to some other student, what happens? At all the places I need to change. But it's not acceptable, right? If we are changing the entity, even in that case, the program should work perfect. Just because now for this operation I am using employee object. Let's consider like after 6 months or 1 year, I am not using the employee object for this operation, I will be using some labor object for this operation. In that case also, let's consider like I have done this operation at some 100 places. If I use subclass reference, what happens? I need to change from employee to labor at those 100 places. So for that scenarios, to make it generic and to make it well maintained, to access the superclass members, we use the references of superclass only. Okay? That's how it happens. And going forward, once we discuss all the things, then you can understand how it will be working. Right now we are at the very initial stage. Okay? You might not be satisfied with the explanation, but you can understand once all the concepts are completed. Okay? Now, the superclass members cannot access the subclass, superclass references cannot accept the subclass members, but the subclass references can refer to superclass members. Okay? Now employee is a reference to subclass. The subclass references can refer to superclass members. This is possible. But superclass references cannot refer to subclass members. This is possible. Employee is EMP is of type employee and EMP is accessing the member which is there inside the person. This is possible. The subclass references can refer to superclass members. Now let me go to the same person, EMP equal to new employee. Let me make it employee. Let's consider that even employee has IDs. Let's consider the value of employee ID is 200 and the value of person ID is 100. Now, what is the value that is printed? 200. Is it printed 100 or 200? or will it give any compiler? First of all, will it give a compiler error? Will it give the compiler error? See, with the same name we have attribute in superclass as well as subclass. With the same name we have attribute in the superclass as well as subclass. Will it be compiled? Okay, first, what the compiler will do means, the compiler will compile the whole person class. The compiler will compile the whole employee class. Okay, and then the compiler tries to inherit person with employee. The compiler compiles the whole person class individually first. It will check there is ID inside person. That's okay. Then the compiler what it will do, it will compile the whole employee class as an index. There is only one ID person. Then only it will check the inheritance name. Okay? We can have the attribute with the same name, even the superclass as well as subclass. There is no restriction. Okay? We can have attribute with the same name, even in the superclass as well as in the subclass. There is no restriction. But at the runtime, it will consider only the subclass members. See, if there is attribute with the same name, in the superclass as well as the subclass, at the runtime environment will consider only the subclass member. First, the runtime environment will prefer the subclass members. First, the runtime environment will prefer the subclass members. So, what is the value printed here? Definitely it will be 200. We can have attributes with the same name in the superclass as well as the subclass. Just system.out.println. Just this is spelling mistake. It was compiled. If I close the classes and execute them, the output is 200. Okay? We can have the same attribute name in the superclass as well as subclass. It will not be an error. Now, the case will be even for methods also. Let me not make it static. The case will be even for methods also. Test method person and test method. How we can decide two attributes are duplicate? How we can decide whether two attributes are duplicate or not? When we can call two attributes are duplicate? When the same? See, with the same scope means attributes will be in the same scope, right? Within the class scope. What I am asking is, if there are two attributes in the class, how do you decide those two attributes are duplicate or not? Same name. Same name and same data type. If those two attributes are of same name and same data type, then they will be duplicate attributes. Okay? Same name and different data types? What I told in the very first class of attributes is, irrespective of the data types, if the names of the attributes are same, they will be considered as duplicate attributes. Okay? Irrespective of the data types. the names of attributes are same, then they will be considered as duplicate. Let's consider like I have salary which is double and even I have salary which is string. Then it will be a duplicate attribute. Just because irrespective of data types, two attributes cannot have the same name. Okay, these two will be considered as duplicate irrespective of the data types. Now, just better to compile this, it will be giving compile time error. Okay, salary is already defined in the employee. Okay, now just duplicate attributes will not be allowed. Now, how we can call two methods as duplicate? How we can call two methods as duplicate? Same name, same signature. Now, can we call these two methods? Can we call this method inside the employee and this method inside the person as duplicate? Can we call them as duplicate? Can we call them as duplicate? Can't we tell these two methods are duplicated? Can't we tell that employee method and person method are duplicated? If there is a duplication, it will be a compile time error. Now, will it give a compile time error? That means you are telling that it will not be duplicated. Right? Okay? The employee class method is not duplicating the person class method. Here in this case, we cannot tell the employee class method is duplicating the person class method. Just because duplication check will be done only in that class. Duplicate check will not be done in the superclass and the subclass. Okay? This test will be considered as a method which is present in the employee class. And that test will be considered as a method which is there in the person class. These will not be considered as duplicate methods. This will not be considered as duplicate methods. Okay?
But it's a game of compilation. The game of compilation, that testing method will come to the employee class.
Definitely.
Then it will consider as duplicate.
See, at the time of compilation, first the whole person will be compiled, and the whole employee will be compiled. Then the person members will be inherited to the employee. Okay? Now, where is the concept of duplication? Duplication check will be done while compiling the class. While compiling the class, it will be compiled as individual, and this will be compiled as individual, and this class members will be inherited to employees. But which one will be considered means? See, two methods are there, one from the superclass and one from the subclass. Which one will be considered? Subclass method or the superclass method? Definitely it will be considered the subclass method. So, if I execute this application, what is the output? Like, will it call the test method person or the test method employee? Test method employee. So, let me try to compile this and execute this. What's happening? It's executing 200 and it's giving test method employee. Now, let me change the reference to person. Now, will it give the same output? Now the reference is employee. Sorry, the reference is person and the object is employee. Now, will it give test method person or test method employee? What it means? The compiler, what it will do? At the time of compilation, it will check only what the reference variable is. What the reference variable is? Person. Now, it will check for test method inside the person class. Do we have test method inside the person class? Yes. So it will be compiled successful. Now, what is the output? Will it give test method person or employee? Person. Okay? What's the output? Is it giving test method person or employee? Employee. Why it is giving this output? Definitely at the time of compilation, okay, person emp equal to new employee means whatever the object it might be, okay, at the time of compilation the compiler will check, okay, do we have test method inside person? Now let me consider that I don't have test method inside person. I don't have test method inside person. Okay, now will it be compiled? If I don't have test method inside person, will it be compiled? Let me see whether it will be compiled or not. Is it compiled? What is it telling? It's not able to find the symbol method test inside the class person. Okay, that means at the time of compilation, the compiler is looking for the test method inside the person class. But at the time of execution, what it is doing? It's executing the test method which is there in the employee. At the time of compilation, the compiler is looking for the test method inside the person. By the time of execution, the method that is executed is the method that is there in the employee. But what's happening in between compilation and execution? Okay, just I'll explain that now. Okay, let's consider like now we have a class person with a method void test. Okay, and then we have an employee class which extends to person, and then here we have system of test of person. System of function test of employee. Now what we are doing is another class person p equal to new employee and p dot test. That's what we are doing. Okay. Now definitely at the time of compilation, okay, the compiler will check what is the reference variable. What's the reference variable? What's the data from the reference variable? Person. So, compiler will try to bind the test method to person. And the compiler what it will do is it will check. Sorry. Employee class test method. Okay. Now, at the time of compilation, the compiler will check. Okay. Now, from the super class, one method is inherited. What is the method? This method will be inherited from the super class. Test of person. This method will be inherited from the super class, and this method is there in the subclass. Now, the compiler will check. Some method will be inherited in the superclass, and some other method is there in the subclass. Now, the compiler will check: is the method name same? Is the method name same? Yes. Now, is the list of arguments same? Yes. Okay. If the method name is same and the list of arguments is same, then we can tell that the subclass method is overriding the superclass method. If the method name is same and the signature is same, then we can tell that the subclass method is overriding the superclass method. If the method name is same and the list of arguments are the same, if the method name is same and the list of arguments are the same, then we can tell that the subclass method is overriding the superclass method. And there are some rules for overriding. We'll discuss what are the rules that is required for overriding. But the process of overriding will be initiated only when the superclass method and the subclass method have the same name and the same signature. Okay? The process of overriding will be initiated only when the superclass method and subclass method have the same name and the same signature. The process of overriding is initiated only when the superclass method and subclass method have the same name and the same signature. So, here we can tell that the subclass method, employee class method, is overriding the inherited superclass method. See, the employee class test method, we can tell that the employee class test method, is overriding the employee class test method is overriding the inherited test method from the person class. From the person class, definitely test method will be inherited, and that test method will be overridden by the subclass test method. The superclass test method, the person class test method will be definitely inherited to the employee class. But in the employee class, we are overriding the superclass method. Okay? But even we have overridden the superclass method, at the time of compilation, okay? At the time of compilation, the method will be linked, the method calling statement will be linked to the reference method only. Okay? What is P? P is of type person. Now, at the time of compilation, this statement will be linked to the superclass method only, to the person class method only. Now, if I give this employee P equal to new employee, then what is the type of the reference variable? In this case, what is the type of the reference variable? Employee. So, now, it will not link to the employee, so it will not link to the person, directly it will link to the employee. First, the compiler will check what is the reference variable. What is the reference variable there? What is the type of the reference variable? Person. So, inside person, it will check for method name test with these arguments. Do we have any method with name test with these arguments? Inside person class? Yes. So, the compiler what it will do is, the compiler will try to bind this statement with this. The compiler will try to bind the statement with this. Now, at the runtime, what the runtime environment will do means, the runtime environment will check whether that to which object I am referring to. To which object P is referring to? To which object P is referring to? Employee. The runtime environment will not check one is another. The runtime environment will check to which object we are referring to which object the reference is referring to. To which object the reference is referring to? Employee. Now, at the runtime environment will check. Okay? Is that test method overridden in the subclass? Is the test method overridden in the subclass? Yes or no? Yes. Okay? The test method is overridden in the subclass. So, now already a link is established between this statement and the person class method. So, if the runtime environment finds Okay, the runtime environment will check to which class, to which object the P is referring to. Which object P is referring to? To which object P is referring? Employee class object. So, in the employee class object, it will try to find a test method which is overridden. Now, do we have any test method which is overridden in the employee class? Yes or no? There is a test method, and this test method is overriding the superclass test method. So, now, at the runtime, if the runtime environment finds the overridden method in the subclass object, then what it will do is, it will break this bond. It will break this bond, and at the runtime, it will establish the bond to the subclass method. Okay? Now, so at the runtime, which method is being executed? At the runtime, which method is being executed? Test method of the person class or test method of the employee class? Definitely test method of the employee class. So, okay, this is how the overriding will do. Okay, first, at the time of compilation, definitely, since the reference variable is of type person, okay, at the time of compilation, it will be bind to the superclass component. But at the runtime environment will verify. Okay, do we have this method inside the subclass? If there is the method, if the method is there in the subclass, the method is there, the method is overridden in the employee class. Definitely, at the runtime environment will break this bond, and the runtime environment will establish a new bond for this statement and the subclass method. Okay, for this statement and the subclass method. Okay, that's how the thing is done. Okay, so that's why the output is coming as test method employee. Understood why the output is coming as test method employee? Just because the test method is overridden in the class employee. Now let's consider that. Now, will it be compiled? Will it be compiled? Yes or no? No. Why it will not be compiled? Test method? See, the test method is there in the person class. Why it will not be compiled? Why the test? If the test method is there in the person, why it will not be compiled? The test method inside the person is taking an integer, but we are not passing any integer. See, what is the reference? I have told many times that, okay, if we are using a reference variable to refer an attribute or a method, first the compiler will check for that attribute or method in the reference type. What is the reference type? Person. In the person, do we have any non-argumentative test method? In person, do we have any non-argumentative test method? No. So, it will give a compile time error. Just because the reference variable is of type person, and in the person we don't have any non-argumentative test method. In order to refer the test method, what we need to do is we need to call test method by sending some integer as a value. Okay. Now, if I do this, then definitely it will be a compile time error. Most of the people think that EMP is referring to employee object. So, just emp.test will call this method. But at the time of compilation, the compiler will never check what is the object. The compiler will check only what is the reference variable type. What is the reference variable type? Person. So, it will check in the person, do we have any test method which is non-argumentative? In the person, do we have a test method which is non-argumentative? In the person, do we have test method which is non-argumentative? No. So, it is a compile time error. Okay. So, it's a compile time error. Okay. Now, let me send the value int. Now, will it give a compile time error or runtime error, or it will give a correct output? Runtime error. Why it will give a runtime error? Will it be error? No. How it happens is, at the time of compilation, let's consider it is having int I. Now, we are creating person equal to new employee, and we are calling person dot test specifying a value. Now, it will try to link to this method at the time of compilation. Now, at the runtime, it will check, the runtime environment will check whether the overriding is initiated or not. Now, is the overriding initiated here? No. Just because the test method is the same, but signature is different. Why not? Overriding will be initiated only if method name is the same and signature is the same. Now, in this case, is overriding initiated? No. If overriding is not there, then even at the runtime, this bond will be continuing. So, at the runtime, what is the output? This is called test of person or test of employee? Definitely test of person. Just because in the subclass method is not overridden. In the subclass, if the method is not overridden, then definitely it will continue the bond of the superclass method. Understood? So, the output will be test method person. Okay? So, that's what the basics. Okay? And what is overriding? See, we have told that if the method name is the same and the signature is the same, then overriding is initiated. What is overriding? How can we define overriding? What are the uses of overriding? And what are the different rules applied in overriding? Okay? That we'll discuss in the next class. Okay? Method overriding is a very important concept for interviews, for oral interviews as well as written tests. There are several things to discuss in method overriding, and the very standard question and sure question for interviews is what is the difference between method overloading and method overriding. That's a very damn question for interviews, for any interviews. So, what is overriding? How we can define that? Why we use that? Okay? How we can do that? And what are the rules applied in overriding? That we'll discuss in the next class. Okay?